Hi, my name is Danielle, and I'm the VP of Options over at Simpler Trading. Welcome to today's episode of Your Daily Five. So today I wanted to start talking about earnings, and specifically Micron, because Micron did report earnings, and as of right now, it is up about 6% after this earnings report, and the Nasdaq is up right along with it. Now, I know right now, we're at the end of March and earnings season has gotten a little bit quiet. But the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because of the impact that one stock can have on the NASDAQ, and specifically how many earnings reports are going to be coming up very, very soon. Because once we get to the end of March, we're going to be entering April. And what that means is that we are going to be entering the beginning of earnings season, and along with it, a lot of bullish seasonality. So, one could argue, well, hey, we've been in this bear market and the economy is not as strong as it used to. And, maybe the bullish seasonality won't come through this year. And all of those things are true. But when we're trading in the stock market, we are looking at historical patterns over time. And earnings is one of the most important patterns that I like to trade. And looking specifically at Micron today and the impact that it's having on the indexes and just the rest of the tech stocks in general, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, hey, you know what? I know that things are on fire. I know there's a bank crisis and everything else, but that doesn't mean that individual stocks can't have nice moves, specifically during this time frame. So let's go ahead and look at the QQQs. Now, I want to point out that when you're looking at the QQQs, yes, I know we're up against a bunch of critical resistance, right? And we're going to have tech earnings really starting in the second half of April. It's going to be off the chart, of course. And so when we're looking at that, I want to go back and say, all right, well, what has happened in the past when we came upon an earnings season? Well, last earnings season in particular, I don't know if you remember, but we were down here on the dead lows. And then all of a sudden, the NASDAQ experienced this massive boost going into Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Tesla earnings. And so we're right here. We're right up against this resistance zone. And, all we need is a little catalyst to break through this overhead area of resistance to make the next leg higher. So I'm looking at, seasonality and, Microsoft specifically, and saying, hey, guess what? March, April, seasonally, these are pretty strong times in the stock market. The other time I really like to trade the run into earnings, in addition to January, is going to be during July. So usually these 3 quarters are the times where I like to look for these seasonally bullish patterns. By the time you get down to the end of the year, we have some seasonally weak times. And then, of course, you have, sell in May and go away. So just as far as, trading on a quarterly basis, I really like to look for these major tech stocks to trade higher towards the end of March into April. And then after that, usually you can trade them on the short-term basis in May for sell in May. So if we look at one in particular that I wanted to point out, I wanted to point out Amazon. And the reason for this is because, again, I know that it's been impacted by macroeconomic conditions over the course of the last year. I mean, Amazon reported 2 losses in a row for the first time in years. You can look at all kinds of negative stats as far as how Amazon has been impacted by the negative macroeconomic conditions. Amazon's also been noting tons of layoffs. They just announced more this week. But look at the pattern. Do you see last quarter we were down here on the dead lows, and then we had earnings coming up, and all of a sudden you just get this massive rally going into an earnings report? So when you're looking at Amazon right here now, I like this bullish price pattern setting up. I know that Amazon's gotten clobbered, and the thing about it, getting clobbered over the course of the last year, and the fact that it is one of the major mega cap stocks, for me, I think that there's upside potential. I like the near-term bullish price pattern. And I especially like the fact that it has earnings coming up, because I think that even though there are a lot of reasons to be worried about the overall economic condition, when I look at the patterns and I see, how Amazon has performed in the past, to me, that just opens up the door to trade it higher up into, about 110 price point. Now, the other thing that's exciting about this is, all right, so let's say that we end up trading higher here. And let's say that we actually, on many of these Nasdaq names, end up breaking up above the February highs. Now, Amazon is one of the weaker ones, especially when compared to like Microsoft or Apple. But when you look at especially some of the more relative strength names, once you break up above these February highs, then you can really be off to the races. So looking at the February highs and then going back and looking at, previous highs on the daily charts, previous areas of resistance, those are the zones that I'm targeting. And specifically, if we do get, a nice bullish run, those are the areas that I would look at to, first of all, take profits and scale out. But second of all, if you come up to these zones and then break through, that's where we could really see a FOMO induced buying rally. So, right here now, specifically, I'm focused on Amazon, because it does look like it has some more upside. Now, Microsoft is a relative strength winner here. So Microsoft has really already made this big move. But, because Microsoft has already made this big move, that means that it has that relative strength. And it also means that it's up against a key resistance zone. Now, Microsoft, like I already showed, has strong seasonality in April. And when you have that strong seasonality, that can be the catalyst to break through these overhead areas of resistance. And if it breaks through that zone, at that point, we're retesting the August highs. And that is a major zone and level in this market that if it breaks, can you imagine the money flow that would come into Microsoft? So I don't know. I think on one hand, I'm definitely hopeful, because I love trading tech stocks, and trading, break higher here would be a lot of fun for me. And, I think that it would also be something that would be highly watched by market participants everywhere. And, if we could see that this quarter, that would be fantastic. If I'm wrong, and, if 280 is the high and we never break through that zone, and we just end up pulling back here and Microsoft trades lower, and this earnings season is a bust, that will be sad. But at the end of the day, Microsoft has still been a strong relative strength winner. It's been making a pattern of higher highs and higher lows. And so I am going to continue buying and holding this stock in the long term, because if it doesn't break this quarter, it will eventually, and it'll be back onward and upward in the longer term patterns. So for this one, I like to trade it on a shorter term time frame for 2 to 3 weeks in earnings season. And then I also like to buy and hold it on a long-term basis, because it is one of my favorite stocks. One more thing to mention is just that, whenever you're up against a key area of resistance like this, you do have to be pretty careful. A better entry would be down here. So let's say we get a pullback for 2-3 days, pull back into here, and then go higher into April. That would be a preferred situation. But I would also trade it if it was a breakout. I hope that makes sense. So breakout is a super aggressive trade. And then it would be more conservative if we get a little pullback first and then higher. But regardless of the shorter term wiggles, I still like it as a long-term buy and hold. So Thank you very much for watching. This has been today's episode of your Daily 5. If you would like to learn more, you can follow me on Twitter at Trader Danielle. That is DANIELLE. Or you can follow me on YouTube at Trader Danielle. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.